Hey everyone, Sumo Spiffy here. Welcome to the new tier list for Kyushu 2023. Now, we got a couple new things going on here. One, the list on the left. A little bit of changes. After last Basha, where we had that catastrophe where, half the division was C tier, now we have two Cs. So C has been split. So we have S still must pick all formats, A, 10 plus wins expected. B is still, we expect a winning record. C plus is 50-50 or better to get a winning record. C minus, less than 50-50 to get a winning record, but still could see it happening. And then D, not going to have a winning record, like a hard losing record prediction. To make space for that, because we already had the maximum 10 lines filled up, S and A have been combined into one tier for injury risk guys. Also, I got another comment, and all of the comments of this type have been deserved, where somebody said, hey man, it would really be nice if you pronounced these guys' names correctly. I agree. I absolutely agree. So this time, I'm going to be real careful about pronouncing everyone's name. I'm going to try and get them right. I know that I don't really get some of the nuances in how these names are said, but I should be able to do a little bit better. There's some like Ura that I'm pretty sure I still say wrong, even though I was told how to do it. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to do my best. If I'm still completely booching some of these, let me know in the comments. All right, let's get started. Number 1, Terunofuji. Pretty sure that one, we all say that enough that I probably get that right. S, injury risk, always this. He doesn't go into F, Kyujo, because we're assuming he's not going to fight in this tournament, but he hasn't officially announced it. Without the official announcement, I'm not going to put him there. Also, respect to the Yokozuna. So, injury risk, we move on. Let's deal with the Ozeki and the Sekiwake together, because all of them are going in B tier. And that may seem a little WTF. Like, how are you not sure that any of them are going to get 10 wins? Well, here's the thing. I am sure they're going to get 10 wins. I just don't know which ones. Here's my prediction, and it's not a difficult prediction to make. At least one Ozeki is going to get 10 wins, but not all of them will. At least one Sekiwake is going to get 10 wins, but not all of them will. And I could not begin to tell you which guy from each of those groups is going to be the one to get to 10. And it could be more than one. I don't think it's going to be all three. Could be one, could be two. So let's line these guys up in the order I think they're likely to get 10 wins. So if we go with the Ozeki first, I'm going to believe for now that Kirishima is healthy. He didn't seem completely right in Aki, and I guess he's had some trouble with traveling, but he's still probably just if I had to put him and Hoshoryu one above the other, I'm probably going with Kiri. But in terms of wins and losses, it's a 50-50. It's a coin flip. So I'm putting him ahead. Takakeisho, I'm actually going to put behind both of them. Now, as far as pronunciation, Takakeisho should be correct. Kirishima, I'm pretty sure is right. Hoshoryu, I think you're supposed to separate the O and the R, but because of the way I read the word, it's just Hoshoryu, but I think it's supposed to be Hoshoryu. So I'm going to try and be better about that. Like, I can't even hear it when I say it. I can just sort of feel it when I say it. Anyway, Kirishima 1, Hoshoryu 2, Takakeisho 3 for the Ozeki, but it's a coin flip for 3 people. Take a regular die, like a 6-sided die, make Kirishima 1 and 2, Hoshoryu 3 and 4, and Takakeisho 5 and 6. Roll it, and that's about the best chance you're going to have of being correct. For the Sekiwake, Daisho is the one that got 10 wins last time. Wakamoto Haru got 9, Kotonowaka got 9. And I think I sometimes rip through Kotonowaka, and I need to pronounce the T a little bit harder, Kotonowaka. I still think Kotonowaka is the best of these 3 guys, so I'm going to put him up top. But again, just because I think when you look at skill set and ability, he is number 1 of the 3, that doesn't mean he's going to outperform them every time, because he's not that far ahead of them. just like last time, 10, 9, and 9 for their wins. So Daisho, Wakamoto Haru, 2 and 3, a little bit behind Kota no Waka. If you're asking me, of the 6, how do I place them? I ain't even getting into all that. Abi, C+. Thankfully, his name is fairly easy. Abi is a mainstay in High Maegashira and Lower Sanyaku. At these ranks, he is generally a little bit better than 50-50 to get a winning record. Once he's Komusubi, he's a lot more likely to only go 7 and 8, 6 and 9. So he's really on that borderline. Like, he is not a strong C+ pick, but he does tend to do a little bit better than 50-50 as far as getting winning records. He just doesn't hit that 11 win mark, so he can move up to Sekiwake without a spot being opened up. So he's definitely going to sit at Komusubi even with a winning record. I'm calling that. But C+, that seems safe. Hokutofuji. I don't think the way I've been saying it has been a problem, but maybe I got to pronounce the T harder there. Anyway, Captain Faceplant, that's much easier to say. C-. He went 8 and 7 last time, and I said this in the Banzuke video. He beat all 3 Ozeki on the first 3 days, and then he only finished 8 and 7. This, Komusubi, if you're struggling, your schedule does not get that much easier. Remember, Tobizaru wasn't having a great basho last time. He was kind of 50-50, and then he was the one that got stuck against Atamifuji. So Hokutofuji is probably going to do okay, but looking at the guys he has to fight, he has to get on another one of those Nishikigi style runs. Really, that's what he did the first 3 days of last basho. And if he can't, there's just too many guys who he's going to get put against that can take him out. He's been doing much better. It's been great to see, but like the fact he went 8 and 7 last time says he's not in any way a guarantee to have a losing record, but I don't like his odds. Maybe 20-25%. Asanoyama, B, injury risk. If he was healthy, he should be able to get winning records at this rank pretty much all day. However, he is getting beat up all the time. I think his arm is still healing, but even if it isn't, he just tore his calf muscle, the same way Nishikigi did, which it didn't do Nishikigi any favors, but Nishikigi isn't as good as Asanoyama. The thing is with Asanoyama, he's also, and I have said this several times in the last few months, he has looked really sloppy. He has lost when he's let guys escape near the rope just because they resisted hard enough, and all he does is try to bounce him out with body weight. He doesn't really control him very well, and he sometimes overcommits and gets himself in trouble. Healthy, he's definitely B tier. He's definitely someone you should be able to rely on to get a winning record, but he's definitely too injured to rely on him right now. If you don't have any better options, though, he's not a bad one. Ura, not Aura, Ura, D tier. You know how it is. I love my pinky boy, but Maegashira 1 West is one of the most difficult schedules you can end up with, and Ura is not on this level. He is at a very high level. He can beat a lot of guys. He's not going to go winless or anything against that murderer's row he's going to face during the first week, but if he goes 3 and 5, I will personally be happy. If he runs through the Sanyaku 3 and 5, I'm going to be okay with that. But that is not a way to get a winning record. Ura almost certainly going to end up with a losing record this time. Shodai. Now, I should put him C- because he's pretty much always C-. I want him to be D tier because he feels D tier. In the Joy or Lower Sanyaku or whatever, he feels the most D tier guy. He feels like he is just inevitably going to have a losing record. Because when he fights, especially early in the basho, it's like he's doomed. He's doomed. He usually looks doomed. But sometimes the schedule is nice and he does just well enough, like this last time, that he manages to slide to 8 and 7. This is something that's probably going to keep happening around these ranks for him. He is not going to be a favorite to have a winning record, but it's not totally doomed. He could still do it. So C- is correct for him. Meisei, C-. If he was even one rank lower, maybe it's a little bit different. But unfortunately, he is like a slightly better version of Ura. I don't even know about better, but like more effective, which I suppose is better. Meisei is the ultimate question mark when it comes to a tough fight. He's going to go all out, he's going to try and find a way, but his skill set and his physicality is just limited enough that even when he knows what he needs to do, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to pull it off. So at 2 West, it's a little tough. He's done it enough times that he can definitely get a winning record, but again, he shouldn't be more than 50-50 to do it. Takayasu, B, injury risk. Last Basho was the most injury risk Basho you could hope for. Like, what we saw from him is exactly why this injury risk level exists. He was absolutely cruising. What was he, 8-2? He fought Atamifuji, and he lost, and he looked like he got hurt. He looked like he was going to be a mess from there on out. It's not the first time it's happened, and it seemed like the whole Basho was doomed. And in fact, he did struggle from there on out, but his level of competition ramped way, way up too. And he didn't really fight badly. The Basho before in Nagoya, he looked hurt. Like, once things started to go downhill, he actually looked like he was hurt. But this time, he looked reasonably healthy, even though in the moment of injury, it looked as bad as anything. If he's on point, he can absolutely get a winning record, bare minimum here. Do you trust him to stay healthy enough to do it? That is a you decision. Tobizaru, C-. I really want to put him at C+. Like, my heart says to put him at C+, because he's our monkey. He does really well. He gets wins that he looks like he just shouldn't be able to get sometimes. He is, I think, underestimated in terms of skill because he's small, so he looks like he needs to have a lot of skill to succeed. But even then, I think his skill level is not given quite enough credit by some people. You know what? I am going to put him at C+. For this reason. The reason I was putting him at C- is because he struggles against big guys who are also just agile enough to keep up with him. And there's a lot of guys like that in this area. However, Tobizaru is now, outside of the Sanyaku, if he has a tough time early, his schedule will get easier enough that he'll start racking up wins and probably turn it around and get a winning record that way. So it's almost like he has 2 chances at a Kachikoshi. That should be enough. I think he's got a really good chance with that taken into consideration to get a winning record. But a guarantee, no. 10-win ceiling, no. So C+ is correct. Gonoyama, or is it Gonoyama? I'm not... See, I think I've heard everybody say Gonoyama, but this is one of those where, like, the hard O seems to kick in sometimes. This one I could use help with. If anyone knows for sure how to say Gonoyama's name, I would appreciate it. Anyway, Gonoyama. We're going with a C+. If he was 1 rank higher, I'd go C-. He did absolutely atrociously against his Sanyaku opponents last time. However, at 4 East, he's not guaranteed to have a lot of Sanyaku opponents. At 3 East, even 3 West, he would be. And that could be trouble. But right now, I think in 6 months, if he keeps improving and doesn't get hurt, he should be expected to really push for Sanyaku positions. But at the moment, it still looks like he's figuring out how to fight the top guys, and that takes experience. You just have to do it to learn how to get it done. He'll figure it out. I have confidence he's good enough to figure it out, but we have to give him a little bit of time. So for him, he's got enough lower rank competition to face that I think that will push him towards a winning record. But if he does just well enough to end up with a lot of Sanyaku opponents, that could undercut him. But then again, if he does that well, maybe he just sails along to get his 8 wins anyway. I'm calling probably 8 wins for Gonoyama. That seems real safe in his position. Nishikigi, C+. I mean, the dude just dropped out of the Sanyaku down past Gonoyama, and so for the same reason that Gonoyama should have a pretty good chance at a winning record, Nishikigi should have one as well. Now, it is kind of dependent on his leg, but his leg didn't seem to affect him in any kind of obvious way last time. He's just not that good. He was pulling a Cinderella run, and now that's over. But at 4 West, he's got some tough people to fight, like around him. He's got Onosho, he's got Midorifuji, he's got Shonannoumi. This is not a gimme. I am tempted to put him at C-, but I'm going to give him credit for now. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he is capable of showing why he ended up, after such a long career, figuring out how to spend several bashos in the Joy and one in the Sanyaku. But this could be the start of the downfall. I guess we're going to see. Onosho, which maybe I call him Onosho sometimes, but I think it's Onosho. C+. He is 1 rank above where he was last time. So he goes from just outside the Joy to still just outside the Joy. The people around him haven't changed substantially. Now, Hokuseiho's right there, and he seems to be the one guy that Hokuseiho really likes to just run over. So maybe that's a tough one. He's a guy who routinely manages to make sure you don't know what to expect. Like, you say, oh, he's looking good, he's looking great, I'm going to lose 4 in a row. Dude, what happened to Onosho? 5 straight wins. I don't know what goes on with this guy. I have a very difficult time predicting how he's going to do from one day to the next, much less one basho to the next. So we'll give him C+ because he's definitely good enough. But I have a feeling after making this pick that I'm going to have more C+ than C-, and that feels wrong. Let's keep going though and see how this turns out. Midorifuji. C- or C+? See, I think he is more likely to... Oh man, that's tough. Like, I think I'm being biased towards C- because I'm starting to see the guys... I got to stop saying C, I guess. I'm looking at the list, and there's too many guys who look capable of hitting a Kachikoshi. Like, I might think they're better than 50-50, and somebody can't be, right? But Midorifuji, you know what? I'm going to put him at C-. I'm going to put him at C- for this reason. He did really well last basho. He got back to his Katsukashi ways. Like, he was just trying to run at people for a while. Well, he ended up fighting some people who would actually fall for his tricks, and it went really well. And now he is back amongst the guys who should be able to do something about it. Now, not completely. I think he can definitely beat guys like Nishikigi, but then again, Nishikigi is big enough and strong enough to kind of just Tochinoshin his ass right out of the ring. Onosho is a tough out. Shonannoumi, gonna be a tough out. Like, he can beat all the guys around him, but he can absolutely lose to those guys as well. And there are just too many difficult matchups. That's really what this comes down to. There's no weak point in the Banzuke around him. Everybody around him has skills. Yes, even Hokuseiho, I'll get into that in the breakdown. It's coming. This guy, good lord. Let me just finish with Midorifuji. He's probably not going to get fewer than 7 wins. I'll give him that. I think he's going to go at least 7 and 8. But there are so many ways for him to end up 7 and 8. Below 50% seems correct. Where I'm going to be wrong is if he struggles out of the gate and then his schedule gets so much easier that it looks like I was an idiot to think that he wouldn't be able to pick up those wins on the back end. But C- for now. I'm perfectly happy to be wrong about this one. Shonannoumi, C+. And I am pretty sure that a lot of people are going to have Shonannoumi and Midorifuji flip-flopped if they do something like this. Or if you're watching and you're like, where did these guys go? Where would I put them? A lot of you are going to have these two guys switched. And I understand it. Shonannoumi runs really under the radar. He is a really big dude, but he doesn't crush anybody. He actually has a fairly high mobility style of fighting. It's not really highlight centric. He does well. He knows what he's doing. He can get his wins, and just being the size that he is causes trouble for some people. Now, the fact that he's a little bit different in being so mobility focused as such a big guy does mean that when it comes to opponents who he should be able to bully, he doesn't always seem comfortable doing that. But he still should be able. He went 7-8 last time. So obviously there's no guarantees here, but I think he is undersold a bit. I think because he came up with Gonoyama and Hakuoho, people just forget about him. Like, they see that he's good and they're like, yeah, he's fine. But if you had to pick somebody to not do well in this section of the Banzuke, you might pick him because you don't know that much about him, because you just don't notice him. But I think he's a little better than people think, and I think he's got a decent shot at a winning record. Takanosho, C-. You cannot, absolutely cannot, assume Takanosho is going to do poorly. Is it Takanosho? Yeah, that should be right. You can't assume he's going to do poorly once he's outside the Joy. But you also can't assume he's going to do well. It really, he is very streaky. He gets on these rolls where he just starts absolutely stomping people. And then he gets on these rolls where it looks like he's fighting on one leg. And I don't mean because he looks like he's injured. I mean, he just looks like he can't actually move or do anything. Like, it's like he forgot how to do sumo. It's very strange. I should probably do a breakdown of him sometime, but he's not the most popular guy. I don't know. Like, I don't trust his health, and I don't trust his streakiness. So maybe 40%. He's maybe high C-, if that makes sense, but I think he is C-. Hokuseiho. We've heard his name enough that I'm pretty sure I have to get this right. And I also think that no matter what I pick, I'm gonna look like an idiot. But we're going C-, and we're doing it for a very particular reason. He did not beat almost anyone worth anyone's time last Basho. So, in case you forgot, he started 1-4. It was ugly. And then he won 9 matches in a row. Or no, he started 2-4, and then he won 8 in a row. But he beat Endo, and he got a really good clamp on Endo, but it was like carrying a baby out. He beat Sadanoumi, who he has every physical advantage against. And then he beat Kinbozan, which was a good win, but he always beats Kinbozan. It's interesting. He seems to just have Kinbozan's number. But until he beat Tsurugisho on day 14, he didn't face anybody that you could reasonably look at as a challenge. He managed to beat, listen to this list, Kotoeko, Chiyoshima, Nishikigi, Aoyama, Daishoho, Takanosho. Those were his wins in a row. 4 of those guys got demoted. Now, his win against Takanosho by Mitakeumi, a friggin' pushdown win, was like right out of left field. Like, he doesn't do those things. If that's a sign of things to come, if that's a sign that he is actually beginning to work new ideas into his game plan, then he's got to be at least a C+. But we're not going to know that until the Basho starts and we start seeing this happen on a semi-regular basis. 1 win is not enough to go on. He has not proven himself at this rank against any real competition over the course of an entire Basho. Ever since Kirishima hit him with the Sotogake and popped the aura of invincibility around him, or immovability around him, I suppose, he has been very vulnerable to people who are going to just get after him and aren't completely outmatched physically. That is a lot of the guys around his spot on the Banzuke. So he's got enough people below him that he might get matched against to make up for it. So you can never count out his chance at a winning record. But I do not see him doing well unless he really, really evolves his game. Kinbozan, C+. He is simply a large, strong, pretty skilled guy. We saw last time what he's capable of when he hasn't hurt his neck. Don't know anything about an injury this time. We don't know how he's going to do. We don't know really how a healthy Kinbozan is going to look at this level. We haven't really seen it yet. So it's kind of a crapshoot, but he certainly has the size and the skill to compete at this level just outside the Joy. He should do fine. He should get a Kachikoshi. The only thing that makes him not B tier in my mind is that there are enough good guys around him that maybe he struggles a little bit. But he is a very high C+. Endo, C-. Endo is the kind of guy who should be able to get a winning record at this level. However, his wins from last time, he beat Kinbozan, and he beat Midorifuji, but Midorifuji started off really poorly and then came back around. But his other wins were against like Hiradoumi and Oho and Kageyaki and Myogiryu. Now, he'll probably fight Myogiryu, Nishikigi, Kotoeko, guys who were injured, not doing well. He has a stronger lineup of opponents this time. He has a stronger group of guys to face. This is a very good middle of Makauchi set of wrestlers. So for a guy like Endo, who would normally do okay against the guys who tend to be around this rank, I think this one's going to be a struggle. Like Midorifuji, I have a hard time seeing him do worse than 7 wins. I just think there's a really, really good chance he ends up at 7 wins. Atamifuji, B tier. Atamifuji was remarkable last Basho. And yes, he was at the bottom of the division, and yes, he got his wins against a bunch of scrubs, but he also got some wins against a bunch of really good wrestlers. More to the point, he didn't throw guys around and then get thrown around and end up in a bad position and barely find wins and just kind of luck box his way into a few of those victories. He was dominant. He showed a high level of skill, a high level of capability, and he only got into trouble when he got in there against the Sanyaku. Now, to cover my ass a little bit, his schedule went from low ranks to the Sanyaku really quickly. He fought Aoyama on day 8, then Kinbozan, then Takayasu in a contender fight, and then he went to the Sanyaku. Like, there wasn't much of a progression there. So we don't know how he's going to fare with a lot of mid-rank guys around him. But what he did show is that he is definitely able to win these matches. He is the one guy I am confident is going to get a good chunk of wins early. Now, I don't think he's any kind of lock for 10 wins again. I definitely don't think he's going to go 10-1, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him start out like 6-3. Now, depending on how the rest of the tournament is going, that could be enough to start pushing him towards higher rank or Sanyaku matchups relatively early. That's going to make it tough. It could also mean that he just keeps fighting guys around his level if other people are going 8-1, 7-2, and they're the real contenders. So this is very schedule dependent. He could get 10 wins with a friendly schedule, and there are a few ways the schedule could turn out that give him a real shot at that. But it's not a given. However, I do think he's a fairly safe winning record bet. Go with him. Myogiryu. See, this guy definitely, I go Myogiryu, and that's probably wrong. It should be Myogiryu, I think. Anyway, C-. He is arguably D tier, but that's if you look at the guys above him. If he had to fight Hokuseiho and Kinbozan and Endo and Atamifuji and Shonannoumi, and that was like his whole basho, he'd be doomed. But then you look below him, Ryuden. Ryuden's tough enough, but I wish the best for Myogiryu in that one. He can beat Kotoeko. He cannot. The tough thing for him is that if you look 2 to 3 ranks up and down from him, the easiest fights, or the least physically capable guys, if you exclude Tamawashi and his probable old and injuriness, is Sadanoumi and Hiradoumi, and they're both stablemates of his. That's tough. Now, what it does mean, however, is that he'll probably get bumped even further down, which means then he's starting to fight the guys coming up from Juryo. If he starts doing well, then he's just going to get put against guys that are going to beat his ass. And if he does poorly enough to start getting a bunch of low-ranked matchups, it's not going to be enough to catch him up to a winning record. I don't think he's going to get to 8 wins, but because of all the guys below him, I can't discount the possibility. He's maybe a 20%er. So C- for Myogiryu. Mitakeumi, B tier. Look, it's pretty clear that Mitakeumi is not suffering from an acute injury at this point. He's not right. He's not the Ozeki level guy that he was. Physically, he's not capable of quite the same things. But he is at what is going to be full strength for him from now on. And outside of the joy, that should be enough to get work done. Furthermore, unlike Myogiryu, he does get to fight Sadanoumi and Hiradoumi, and he should be able to pick up those wins. I think he will struggle against some of the guys above him, but he's got enough guys below him that he should be able to feast on that I would be kind of shocked if he couldn't come up with a winning record from this position. Mitakeumi, go with him. Sumo's answered to Deshaun Watson, C+. Just like Mitakeumi and Endo and Atamifuji, all of these guys have enough people below them that they can get their wins. Assuming Ryuden is still healthy, relatively speaking, he's hopefully going to get his ass beat by the guys he fights going up in ranks, but then he's got Sadanoumi, Hiradoumi, Oho, Tamawashi, Takarafuji. He's not going to win all of those fights, but he's going to win enough of them. There's a small chance, hopefully, cross fingers, that maybe his leg will fall off, and then he'll have to go Kyujo and have a losing record, but unfortunately, that doesn't seem likely to happen. So anything can happen. If he loses a couple matches he shouldn't, there are enough tough matchups to push him down towards, 6-7 wins, but he'll probably end up with a winning record here. Kotoeko, C-. This one is really schedule dependent. I am unfortunately not going to have time due to my real life job to put out the schedule video. Not that many people watch it, so I'm not sure it's going to be missed all that much. But should I be careful? Kotoeko. Anyway, schedule video. The thing about the schedule video that got me to do it in the first place was wanting to know for myself who's likely to fight who. And without having done that, I'm not 100% sure how far down the ranks Kotoeko is likely to go. Now, if he ends up with a bunch of fights against Juryo guys, then he should do pretty well, and he is going to have a much better chance at a winning record. But at 10 West, I don't think it's any kind of a given he's going to get those matches, or at least not more than one or two. If he's got to fight more up than down, and I think that's how this is going to turn out, it's going to be tough for him. If I'm wrong, though, or if he does just okay enough that they start putting him against lower rank guys with equivalent records, and then he can feast on them, then he's got a decent shot at his winning record. But just compared to the guys around him, I think this is one where he goes 7-8, 6-9, drops down to like 12 or 13, and then just has a winning record next time. Sadanoumi, C-, and the likely schedule is the only reason he's not D tier. Yeah, he had a winning record last time, but do you remember who he fought and who he beat? His wins were against Nishikigi, Aoyama, Kotoshoho, Chiyoshoma, and Daishoho. Those were his 5 wins in the first 12 days. That is not good. That is real ugly. Most of his wins are gone. They're not even in the division anymore. What gives him a chance is the fact that the guys coming up are, in my opinion, even friggin' worse. But he has not looked good lately. Last couple basho, he has looked absolutely atrocious. How he beat Shonannoumi at the end of last basho is absolutely beyond me. I was kind of flabbergasted by that. But he got it. He got his winning record off of it. He's safe a little bit longer. He might actually get a lot of those Juryo matchups, and he might be able to take advantage of those. But if he's not right physically, there's no guarantee. Since I don't quite know where he is in terms of health, I'll give him that little bit of a benefit of the doubt. I'll say C-, but if it wasn't for all the promotees, it would be D tier. Hiradoumi, C+. 11 West is about the point where you start seeing guys who get to fight all the way down to the bottom of the division. Not necessarily all the way to 17 West. And even if he does get down that far, he's not necessarily going to fight everybody in between. But not fighting everybody in between means we don't know which guys exactly he's going to get and who he's not. The fact that he can't fight Myogiryu or Sadanoumi really benefits him in that it limits who he's able to go against and very much increases the possibilities he fights down in rank. He is a 9-win max guy. I've been saying this for at least a year, and I'm holding to it. Even though the guys coming up, given his level of effort, given just what he's able to do as a wrestler, he should be able to do really well against some of these guys. He remains a person very much capped in terms of the level of physicality he can deal with. I don't know how he's going to do against Tomokaze. You know what I mean? And if he starts to do halfway decently, he might get bumped up just far enough to fight the guys that can beat the crap out of him. So I do like his odds of at least getting a winning record. I think he's got enough people that he should be able to slap around, but the schedule could go sideways on him, and it's not a given. Oho, C+. And I am calling it a strong C+. I am honestly tempted to call him B tier here. The only reason I'm not is because of his history of just not showing up. But in terms of his ability, he should be able to absolutely dominate at this rank against the guys around him. He should be capable of 10 wins. He should be an A tier pick. I'm going to say that again. Oho should be an A tier pick. It is only his history and his approach and his mindset, the mental side of the game, that makes him this unreliable. But if you have any real faith in him to pull his head together and actually get after it, I think you should consider Oho at least a B tier pick. He should do really well if he can fight up to his ability at all. Tamawashi, C+. Tamawashi should also be at least B tier, but for very different reasons than Oho. His ability, his general size, strength, like he's got the whole combination, but the whole combination for him has always meant an awful lot better than 2 and 13 at Joy ranks. He should not be performing that way against any level of competition. I have to assume something is wrong, but I have not heard what that is. I have not gotten even a hint of what that is from any source, which means there's no way to tell if whatever was wrong is now better. And without that, there's no way to tell what the likelihood is that he's going to fight to anywhere near his full potential. I think he should be minimum B tier. Again, like Oho, if you have faith, if you think, hey, I think it was just a bad tournament. I believe in my guy Tamawashi. I believe in the Iron Man. Hey, treat him as B tier minimum, because he can destroy most of the guys he's going to fight. He has that ability. But if he's not right, he's not right. And at this level, just being off 10% can be enough to turn 10 and 5 to 5 and 10. Like, maybe I should put him as an injury risk, but without knowing he has an injury and with the possibility that he's just getting slower and isn't capable of the same stuff, I can't reasonably do that. He's just C+. Takarafuji, C+. Takarafuji, yeah. This guy is very, very good against a certain type of opponent. And the truth is, I don't know enough about the guys coming up from Jiryu. I've been paying attention the last couple bashos, but I don't know quite enough about them to really feel comfortable saying if they fall into his wheelhouse or not. The guys around him, he's going to get some wins. He's going to get some losses. If somebody could find a way to just juice him up, not even in terms of strength or anything, but just give him the energy to go all out for all 15 days, that would be incredible to watch. But how much does he need to pace himself to get to the end of the basho intact? That's kind of the whole deal with him. He is probably going to face enough guys coming up from Jiryu who don't really belong in this division to carry him to a winning record. But without knowing the matchups very well, it's hard to say for sure. Tsurugisho, C minus? No, C plus. Tsurugisho. That should be right? Again, let me know in the comments if I'm not getting any of these right. Tsurugisho. He has done really well 2 of the last 3 bashos. He didn't end up with an amazing record at the end of those because he ended up getting bumped way, way up in competition and then losing some matches. But he's been really impressive. He's been really impressive in those bashos. The one where he went up in between, he went 5-10 and basically got his ass beat. With all the Juryo guys coming up, I think that should be enough to get him to a winning record, and I was tempted to make him B tier. But again, it's sort of like with Takarafuji, without knowing the matchups, and knowing that there are guys who he is just going to struggle against, I'm not quite ready to make that call. C+, but probably a decent C+ pick. Tomokaze, B tier. Tomokaze, and I realize that when I talk about Tomokaze and the Juryos, which I probably will at some point, why am I talking about him as like the leader of the group when Ichiyamamoto was the one who won the Yusho and beat Tomokaze in the process? Because Tomokaze is the only one of this group who has a proven track record in Makuuchi. He got hurt, totally screwed up his knees. Both knees, one knee, not actually sure on that point. But if he's anywhere near the wrestler he used to be, he can actually move up these ranks. He can actually get something done. And I think he should be able to raffle stomp a lot of the guys here at the bottom of the division. I don't know if he's going to start 9-1 or something crazy like that, but he should be able to chew up all of these bottom ranks enough that he can at least get his 8-9 wins. I feel pretty confident he's going to get at least 8 as long as nothing crazy happens. Ichiyamamoto, C+. Yes, I am putting him below the guy he beat last basho because Ichiyamamoto is not that good. I hate to say it. I like watching him fight, but the only time that he ever got out of double-digit Maegashira ranks, he got absolutely clowned. Now, I grant that he was hurt, and he went 4-11 and then 4-11, and then took a couple of fights off in July because of his knee, came back, and looked pretty good after that. I don't know what those 2 days did, got injected with every steroid known to man or something, but then after that, he only goes 13-2 and wins a Yusho. He can beat all of these Juryo guys, but the rest of them, these are the guys that he struggled against for a really long time. All of these guys that he beat coming up with him give him a pretty good chance at a winning record, but he used to be so, is he going to get a win? Is he going to go 8-7 or is he going to have a losing record? Like really, it was 8-7 or losing record, not a winning record or a losing record, 8-7 specifically or a losing record. All this does is increase the odds he gets to 8, maybe 9 wins. Let's hope for the best for him this time, because next basho is probably going to be a mess. Tohakuryu, D tier. Tohakuryu first made it to Juryo in January of 2021, and he has been there ever since. When you are in Juryo for almost 3 years and you don't get a sniff of Makuuchi, like he got to Juryo 1 a couple of times and then just crapped himself. This time, with being in a position where it looked like, he's probably not going to get there, he ended up having a really good tournament, and now here he is. But without showing any real ability to beat guys on a Makuuchi level, bear in mind, this 10-5 is the same basho, from the same basho where Ichiyamamoto went 13-2, and Ichiyamamoto has trouble against legit Makuuchi guys all the time. The sometimes challenge that appears when guys are coming back up the ranks from injuries or suspensions, or the wrong guys got demoted and now they're on the warpath to get back to the top division. None of that happened in Juryo last time. So all of those records kind of have to be taken with a grain of salt. Tohakuryu, he can beat all the guys around him that came up from Juryo with him, but he can also lose to them. And there's also not enough of them to carry him even close to a winning record on their own. He'll get some wins against the top division guys. The bottom of the division in that general area is weak enough. I have a really I basically cannot see him getting a winning record though. 7-8 would be a success for him. Tsurunofuji, D tier. I promise I'm not shitting on the Juryo guys because they're easy targets just being promoted from Juryo. Tsurunofuji, He first made it to Juryo in 2018, and then he instantly went back to Makushita, and except for one tournament where he was back in Juryo, didn't show up again until 2020. From there, he's been in Juryo all the way through except for one tournament. He's had decent runs, like in 2022, he had a streak of 3 9-win tournaments in a row, but he's been up and down and up and down. He has not been that consistent. He looks sometimes like he actually might be really good, and then sometimes it's like, I don't know what you're doing, man. And that is not going to cut it at this level. Again, like all the other guys coming up, they can all beat each other. So if they all go, because 6 guys got promoted, right? So if they all go 3-2, 2-3 against each other, where do they get the rest of their wins to find a winning record? Where do they get 5 or 6 more wins from? I don't think Tohakuryu can do it. I don't think Tsurunofuji can do it either. So D tier. Roga, C-. Now, I'm not putting Roga at C- because I just want to avoid putting all of the Juryo guys except for Tomokaze and Ichiyamamoto, the ones with Makuuchi experience, in D tier. Roga has always looked like a guy, and again, I haven't paid super close attention until the last couple Bashos, but even when I would see him in Chris Sumo's videos or just, you know, catch his fights watching a random Juryo day in Basho's past, he was the guy who looked, oh yeah, man, he's big, he's strong, like he definitely has the physical ability to go somewhere. And so when Basho after Basho, he's not getting to Makuuchi, it's kind of like, what is he doing wrong? He loses fights he shouldn't. 100% he loses fights he should not lose. However, he's also the one that stopped Onosato from getting a playoff last Basho, and Onosato is going to be a monster for years to come. These other guys, Tohakuryu, Tsurunofuji, they're not beating Onosato. I'd probably say Kitanowaka, if not for the fact he had actually done it. Roga has the basic ability. Now, does he up his game enough to actually be successful in Makuuchi on his first go? Having these guys around him that he's familiar with will probably help a little, but not as much as it should, because he should be beating these guys' asses all the time, and he just doesn't. He might be as D tier as anybody, but at some point, when you get to the highest levels, you got to have the basic physical ability to get this done. He's the one that I think shows it most consistently, even if he doesn't use it to the fullest possible degree all the time. So C-, but yeah, maybe he goes 5 and 10 as well. Nishikigi, B, injury risk. If you remember the recap from last Basho, where I had him initially B, injury risk, where I've had him for a little while, and then I bumped him down to C when I redid everything, it might seem a little weird that I'm putting him just at B, injury risk again. But again, look at the guys around him. If he's even close to healthy, he should be able to absolutely smash these dudes. But unlike Oho, whose problems are pretty much all mental, and unlike Tamawashi, whose problems are question mark, physical, old, I don't know, but something's up, Nishikifuji's ankle, it looks done. Like, his mobility is not what it should be. Even though this past Basho in September, it didn't look as bad as in July, he was obviously not capable of the things he should be capable of. He was not capable of the things that we've seen him do before. If he has somehow, I don't know, platelet or stem cell injection, platelet injection, I can't remember what it's called. PRP, I can't remember what it stands for. But like, if he gets something like that and ends up doing miracles for him, he could go 11-4. He could compete for the whole damn thing until he has to fight Sanyaku guys and gets thrown on his head. But without knowing his health level, he's always going to be a question mark. I think you should avoid Nishikifuji more than anyone else in every game. Not just the ones where you want guys who are doing well, but also the ones where you want guys who are doing poorly. Because that means he's going to have the Basho where he actually recovers and goes 10-5 and makes you feel silly. Kitanowaka, C-. He's kind of like Roga. Roga looks like the dude who can manhandle everybody, and then for some reason it's just not enough. Kitanowaka simply looks big enough, strong enough, but also skilled enough to get a lot of really impressive wins. You watch him long enough, and you will see him beat dudes. It's like, you're actually pretty good. I'm not sure why you've been in Juryo for so long. And for him, it hasn't been quite as long as for other guys. He first came up in January of 2022, but still, it's been almost 2 years. And a lot of times he fights like a guy who should have passed this level by now. And then he has other fights where it's like he loses concentration, or he just isn't sure what to do. He doesn't have a good enough game plan. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't get the job done. There is definitely a math bias in me that wants to put him in D tier, because all the other guys, see, sometimes in sumo, a guy in Juryo will earn a promotion by the math, and you look at how he fights and it's like, my dude, you are not ready for this. But you earned it, so let's see how you do. Kitanowaka didn't even do that. Mathematically, he did not get into this division. He only got promoted because the committee decided Aoyama did too poorly to be allowed to stay. But that being said, he does show enough of the time that if this is a situation where he feels like he is more than good enough for Juryo and he just gets bored or something, maybe he actually shows up a little bit more. Maybe he's that guy more consistently. If he can be good Kitanowaka on a consistent basis, he can win some matches. He's got a chance, but you can't bank on that. It's just enough to give him a non-zero possibility of catching a winning record, but we're talking 10 to 20%. Don't bet $5 on it, much less the house. And that is gonna do it for Kyushu 2023 tier list. What do you think of the picks? Are you happy that I split up C tier, especially since we're back to having a ton of guys somewhere in C tier? How were my pronunciations? Did I screw anything up? The answer is yes, but what did I screw up? I don't know. That's what I need you to tell me. So let me know in the comments. Other than that, Hokuseiho breakdown, next video coming, hopefully by Thursday. I definitely have to get it by Friday because I am going to judge a Muay Thai event on Saturday and I will not have time to work with it. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe if you want to make sure you see it. Have a great day, and I will see you soon.